Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Series, where I go over every 2024 NCAA Men's College Basketball Conference Tournament. This is the 8th of 32 shows, and this is always one of my favorite ones to do. The Missouri Valley Conference Arch Madness. Alrighty, so I'm going to go over the how the league played out this year, and then we'll pick the bracket and do what we always do after we pick the bracket. Alright. Your number one seed in this tournament, a really good team this year, the Indiana State Sycamores. 26-5 overall, 7-3-3 in conference play. Not out of the question for an at-large. Your 2 seed, 25-6 overall, 16-4 in conference play, the Drake Bulldogs. Your number 3 seed, 21-10 overall, 13-7 in conference play, the Bradley Braves. Coming in 4th, the Northern Iowa Panthers, 18-13 overall, 12-8 in conference play. Your 5 seed, the Belmont Bruins, 19-12 overall, 12-8 in conference play. Your 6 seed, the Southern Illinois Salukis, 19-12 overall, 11-9 in conference play. Your 7th seed, the Illinois State Redbirds, 15-16 overall, 9-11 in conference play. Your 8th seed, the Murray State Racers, 12-19 overall, 9-11 in conference play. Your 9th seed, the Missouri State Bears, 16-15 overall, 8-12 in conference play. Your 10th seed, the Evansville Purple Aces, 15-16 overall, 6-14 in conference play. Your 11th seed, the UIC Flames, 11-20 overall, 4-16 in conference play. And your 12th seed is the Valparaiso Beacons, 7-24 overall, 3-17 in conference play. The opening round begins Thursday, March 7th with 4 games. The quarterfinals is Friday, March 8th with 4 games. Semifinals will be 2 games on Saturday, March 9th on CBS Sports Network. And the final will be Sunday at noon Eastern on CBS on Sunday, March 10th. So let's get going with the opening round projections. So 9 seed Missouri State, 8 seed Murray State. Missouri State, I think, is well-rounded. Their best player is Alston Mason. And then Murray State, Steve Probst is back in the mix there. They're a pretty deep team too. Quincy Anderson, almost 13 a game for them. I project Missouri State 2.5 total, 142 and 11/20. So I'm gonna go with the seeding upside with Missouri State there. And of course, the tournament's being held at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis, like it is each and every year. The second of 4 first round games, this would be at 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central, 12 seed Valpo and 5 seed Belmont. Valpo, to me, easily the worst team in this conference. They came over from the Horizon League several years ago, really has an impact. Belmont came over from the OVC. I feel like they're more relevant than Murray State right now because they both came over from that same league. They have one of the best players in the league in Malik Daya, averaging almost 17 a game. Jacoby Gillespie is one of their better players. He returned from injury recently, and has had an impact. He's averaging over 17 a game, which is really big for them. I project Belmont 15.5 total, 148 and 2/5. So I'm gonna advance Belmont. All right, your third of 4 first round games: 10 seed Evansville, 7 seed Illinois State. That'll be at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. Illinois State has exceeded some expectations this year. One of their better players has been out with an injury, Darius Burfield, which is not great for them. And then Evansville, I feel like, exceeded expectations in non-con, but kind of came back to earth a little bit. And one of their best players is injured too, Ben Hermichis. So he's been in and out of the lineup. So this was a hard one to project. Illinois State 1.4, total 149-20. So I'm going to advance Illinois State and go chalk on that game. And the last of 4 first round games: 11 seed UIC, 6 seed Southern Illinois. UIC is not very good. They came over from Horizon too, but they have a guy, Isaiah Rivera, averaging over 15 a game. Southern Illinois has exceeded expectations this year. They have someone that's in play for the Player of the Year in the conference, Xavier Johnson, averaging 22 a game, fourth in the league. I project Southern Illinois with 9.25 total and 40 and 7-10, so therefore I'm going to advance Southern Illinois. Quarterfinals will begin on Friday, March 8th, 1 o'clock Eastern, 19 Missouri State, 1 Indiana State. Indiana State, their best season since Larry Bird. They are a really deep team, led by the big guy, Robbie Avila, averaging over 17 a game. And then we talked about Missouri State earlier. Indiana State's just better by a mile. I project Indiana State 11.9, so I'm going to advance Indiana State. The second of 4 quarterfinal games, 5 seed Belmont, 4 seed Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa, pretty relevant this year from a conference standpoint. They're a well-rounded team. Two guys leading the way for them, Nate Heiss and Bowen Bourne. I project Northern Iowa only by 1.6. I think this is a game that Belmont could win, but I'm going to advance Northern Iowa. I only have them projected 1.6 favorites. All right, 7 seed Illinois State and 2 seed Drake. Drake's a beast, as we know. Their best player is Tucker DeVries. He's obviously being played for Conference Player of the Year, too. Averaging almost 22 a game, 7 boards and over 3.5 assists. I project Jake 14.1 over Illinois State, so I'm going to advance Drake. And then the semifinals on Saturday, March 9th, 4 seed Northern Iowa, 1 seed Indiana State. Indiana State is just better, hands down from top to bottom, led by Avila. I have them projected 6 3/4, so I'm going to advance Indiana State. The second 2 semifinals, 3 seed Bradley, 2 seed Drake. Bradley's made the tournament in the past, and they have a reputation as a school to come up big in this tournament. They're a deep team, but I like Drake better. Led by DeVries. I project them 5 3/4, so I'm going to advance Drake. And then the championship, the one that we're all rooting for, 2 seed Drake, 1 seed Indiana State from Enterprise Center. I project this as a pick'em. That's not great. Because this is a really hard game to figure out who I like to win. The best guy on the court is probably DeVries of Drake. But Indiana State is a deeper team. And I just like that team more than Drake's team. And I know Drake's experience and Indiana State is kind of new to the party. But I like this Indiana State team a lot. They have a lot of youth on this team. They'll be back next year. And Drake, they have some juniors. I mean, you never know with the transfer portal and such. So, this is so hard. I don't even remember who won Arch Madness last year. I want to say it was Drake. Yes, it was Drake and DeVries, who obviously his father is the coach. And he has a son. I like that story. So I'm going to go with Drake just because of their experience. They're probably favored to win this tournament. And will Indiana State get an at-large is the question. So they lost to Illinois State at home and to Southern Illinois on the road in the same weekend, President's Day weekend. That was a setback for them. I think if they are not an at-large, it's because of that. And at gunpoint, I do not think they're an at-large. They have an outside chance if some of those, mediocre-ish teams like Clemson. Not that Clemson's mediocre, maybe they're a little better than that, but, somebody, above average, but arguably mediocre teams like Clemson and like Kansas State, Oklahoma. Like, you could go on and on. So they lose to Drake. So those are the 3 conference losses. And in non-con, they lost to Sparty. And they lost to Alabama. And they do have some good wins out of non-con. They beat Toledo. That's a pretty good win. So that's really the only good non-con win they have. So I don't think Indiana State is going to be an at-large. I think they're going to the NIT. So I think the loser of this game goes to the NIT. The winner obviously goes to the tournament. The CBI is going to get a lot of teams from this conference. I think Bradley, but Bradley's also a team that I think has an outside chance at the NIT if it makes the title game. But I think Indiana State and Drake, if they lose in the quarters somehow, maybe they drop to the CBI, but those two are probably, and the loser of Indiana State, Drake, if that's the title game's NIT. I think Bradley, Northern Illinois, or Northern Iowa, Belmont, and maybe even Southern Illinois will be CBI possibilities. So Missouri Valley has some options there for the CBI. Most outstanding player of the tournament has to be DeVries. He's so fun to watch. He has experience, and the dad's the coach, and we know that whole story. So I'm going to say Tucker DeVries is your most outstanding player of the tournament. Value to win the tournament. All right, let's go to FanDuel. I'm sure Drake will be the favorite. Let's see. No, Indiana State's actually favored. Plus 155. Drake's plus 220. Bradley's plus 360. Southern and Northern Iowa are 14-1. Belmont's 19. Missouri State's 65. So is Murray State. Illinois State is 110. Illinois Chicago's 130. Evansville's 210. And Valpo's 250. I would bet Drake at plus 220, and I would put them with maybe I'll put them with I picked Morehead State to win the OVC, so I'll parlay them, try to do it with Morehead State and maybe whoever I pick between Gonzaga or St. Mary's to win the WCC, assuming it comes down to that with the projections. I do like Drake plus 220, but there's a value on anybody to win this conference tournament. I did think of a team that I like from a value standpoint. And it was a long shot, but Southern Illinois with Xavier Johnson. Southern Illinois is 14-1. That's who I like from a value standpoint, but I would bet on Drake at plus 220 because that is my pick to win this tournament. Other tournament opportunities, we went through that already. Coaching openings. DeVries is a junior, the son, Tucker. But dad, Darian, is in year 6, but if, say, they go on a run, maybe he could bounce. Josh Schertz at Indiana State, I think he's going to be the coach of the year in that league for being the 1 seed. But I think that maybe he can bounce. Maybe Bradley randomly made a run. Brian Wardle, could he bounce? He's made the tournament in the past. Hot seat. Definitely Uke Yaklich of UIC. I'd say he's hot seat. Roger Powell of Valpo won't be because he's in year 1. And I don't think Steve Prohm will be either because he's in year 2 and they just transitioned. But yeah, I think everybody else, though, is safe with their jobs. Maybe UIC's coach, to me, is the coach on the hottest seat in this league. So I do think that Indiana State and Drake will be right at the top next year, probably. It's hard to project this because of the transfer portal and how that's changed the sport. It's changed college sports just in general. But it will be those two. Southern Illinois, depending on what happens with Johnson, but gonna be interesting for sure with that league. All right, so there you have it for the Missouri Valley. That was a long one, and next up will be the WCC, which will also be a long one.